can go hit the fresh spada pots. And we like stood there behind the guy squirting them.
Oh yeah, we're rolling. Hit it! So fucking typical, I don't know what to do. I'm on the scotch if I'm feeling kind of woo. Think you're scary, but I don't know what to do. Got that you boo, got that you boo, coo coo ka-choo. Hey!
And there we are.
Welcome back to the lot. Hey, Scotty, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be making my popping my lot cherry here.
I can't believe it took this long to get you on. I feel terrible that we didn't make it happen sooner, but I'm so grateful that you are on here tonight.
And it's appropriate since he was there.
And we also have another guest tonight who we have actually had on the show. What's up, Wolf? Brian, how you doing?
Hey.
He doesn't know he's on. Oh, yeah, he does.
Whoa! Yes. How are you?
Good. We're here excited to get night 2 of Clifford Ball. I think that's going to be fun. Dinner and a movie. We're all kind of recovered, right? Got our leftovers in. Had a nice holiday. And now we're here.
Yes.
I made waffles with the stuffing this morning. I would recommend.
No, I can't do anymore. I'm done. I yesterday was the extent of my leftovers.
Oh, tomorrow
one
for
day
me.
in.
Oh no. Sunday.
Yeah.
You gotta go till Sunday.
Really? See, that's always
Yeah.
I think Midwestern folks will go a little bit longer. They'll go a day or two longer than other folks. Like we're used to like, hey, if we got to put it outside to keep it cold, it'll be fine. You know, like it's all good. So we'll eat it for a couple weeks later potentially. So that's kind of how we do it for sure. Waffles, I can't. That's got to be a Baltimore thing, making waffles out of. I can't even imagine that. That doesn't even seem. Is that a thing, Kev? You sure?
Yes, definitely.
So I didn't realize Wolf had guests leaving, so I had to put him backstage.
Cornbread. I made cornbread and sausage stuffing. You just moisten it a little more. You throw it on the waffle griddle, 2 minutes each side. It's off the hook.
I love when we have a fish lot and everybody's like, oh, sweet, they're going to talk. Hey, Scotty B's going to be flipping desks. They're going to be talking about Clifford Ball. And then we just talk about Thanksgiving leftovers for 5 minutes.
Yes.
What the hell's going on here?
That's one brand.
I like it.
Well, let's get to the Clifford Ball talk. Should we do that?
I think we should.
Absolutely. Well, I saw an amazing tweet, Scotty, and I just was like, man, we got to get our guy on to talk about this moment. So you said, I'm going to quote you here. You said, I just got chills thinking of the moment I walked into the concert grounds at Clifford Ball for the first time. So kind of just like recreate that for us a little bit.
It was so crazy coming into it, just having no real idea what to expect. I mean, it had not been done before. I mean, you hear Air Force Base and it's like they're bringing us to like the government grounds. I mean, that was kind of scary to hear this side. I mean, obviously it was a former Air Force base, but
retired.
Really just having no idea what to expect. And finally you get there, you get through the traffic and you park, and got there the night before and woke up and it was finally time to enter the concert grounds and see what it would look like. And I just remember walking over this hill, entering through the security and seeing the stage as far as the eye could see. and just being blown away at the size of it and the chillness of it and the vibe. This was 4 or 5 in the afternoon. If memory serves, they did fairly normal timing for the first night, started a little early, but it was the second day where it was the 3:30 start with
Right.
the early afternoon start.
And then the orchestra in between.
Exactly, right. The orchestra in between set 1 and 2. And just we'll never forget that feeling of it was like Disney World for adults, for us, for the likes
us.
of us.
I don't know if I was quite an adult then. I was only 25, so
I was 19, so I certainly was even behind you. But
I was standing, my buddy was taping, so I was at the taper section. I turned around at one point and looked at all the people, and I was like, wow. I was like, this band, there's all these people. I was like, there's just so many. The same thing you're saying, just that overwhelming. You're like, they made it. There's so many, and everybody was so cool. It was like nobody was cooler than anybody because we were all new,
Were you
It was
able to
still a new
settle?
thing.
Were you able to settle in right away with that level of excitement and the bigness of it for the first time, and just like, oh, you're at Fish seeing a show, or did it take a while before? Like, I'd imagine that when you're there, there's all this excitement and stuff, and that it would take a few songs to kind of get locked in. But then at the same time, I've been there where one note and you're instantly, everything else goes away, and just you and Trey and the band.
It took some time to get locked in, but in a good way. I mean, just that feeling of I've never experienced this before. This is all so new to me. Like my mind, there's so much. My mind is just having trying to process everything. That it took till I think was it Divided the Sky was like maybe the second or third song until I finally felt like I was at that like a normal Fish experience, and was able to get more engaged.
The only thing I had as a point of reference was seeing like the Dead at RFK or JFK, where there were that many people, but it was a completely different thing because you were in a parking lot going into a football stadium. It wasn't just a feel.
More traditional, right? It's not 70,000 Wooks in a former Air Force base.
And in the 80s, early 90s, the model was we don't do festivals anymore. We force people to go to sheds or stadiums to see these kind of things. And Fish was like, we want control. We're going out to fucking a decommissioned Air Force base.
Yeah.
I first saw Fish in 1994, and after about a year, right before I graduated from high school, I'll never forget, I had a conversation with my Fish friends from high school, and I'm like, I'm going to make 2 big predictions here. One is Fish is going to become so popular that they're going to literally need to build places for them to play. And the second was that Fish was not going to be like the Dead in terms of if they weren't feeling it and things were starting to go downhill, they would leave at the top of their game. And I was kind of right on that second one but thankfully not right, and that they came back.
Ultimately,
I felt like Clifford Ball was kind of, instead of going to stadiums, let's figure out our own style of venue and build our own places to play.
Those kind of predictions are why you ended up, with your site and your blog and with Jambase and everything, is because you just were spot on right from the beginning. I bet your buddy was like, wow, that's a great take. You should put this on the internet. You're like, I see my future.
If they build it, people will show up.
And you know what's great about them building it is how seriously Trey and the band took it, right? Like doing the readings about urban planning and urban development and getting the appropriate resources and not half-assing it.
And how many people per spotter pot you needed? That is one of the most genius things ever. 50 for every 100 people, you need 1 spotter pot or whatever it was. That's brilliant.
But even like the layout and traffic control and crowd control and the first aid and resources and the relationships with the town and the property and the permits, and like they took everything in house and took it super seriously, which is like really impressive.
Our intent is for your delight, as they went on to say, and they really did it by not what will make the most money, but what will be the most comfortable for their fans.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think at that time too, it was a big kind of anti-corporate stance that they had in some ways, right? That they wanted to do it their way also. So those kind of things like big stadiums, there was no way you could control kind of the advertising that was going to be in them, all those kind of pieces that they wanted to have control over. Well, a decommissioned Air Force base, it's a blank slate. I mean, it is a complete where you can create, like you said, your own little world. And I think that was just as important to them as the music or anything else. You hear Trey, say like, go out and don't just stand here and watch us, go do all the stuff we built, go experience this, as much more of a, it's not just a concert, it's an event, and that was very important to him from day one,
treating the whole thing as an art piece.
The people were as much, for me, it was as much as, the guy hanging out next to us with the nitrous tank who was like, hey, just fucking hit my tank. Go ahead, and just everybody was just so cool. I mean,
I love how every memory Kev has of Clifford Ball is nitrous. It's like, tell me your favorite story from the Clifford Ball. It's like, I was with our neighbors hitting their tank.
I tell you, my dumbest thing I did was I was standing there and could have bought one of those pictures Pollock did or whoever, the four of them, the cartoon thing, and I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's one of my favorite pictures of them. Yeah, who knew?
Here's my dumbest thing. So I don't have a great relationship with psychedelics. I've had more bad trips than I've had good trips, and I took some mushrooms before going into that first night of Clifford Ball, which helped my experience of being blown away. But I remember as I'm like gearing up to go in, just like freaking out about not wanting too much stuff in my pockets and like where I'm going to put everything that I'll need. And I had some cash. I had like $60 on me. And I thought it would be a good idea to put masking tape and tape this cash to the top of my Birkenstock, or like underneath my foot. So it was underneath my foot in the Birkenstock. And I figured that way it'd be safe. And I just remember at set break, as my friends and I are all like having our minds blown and really peaking on mushrooms, and Fish is killing it, taking off my Birkenstock and like getting the cash out that I taped to the Birkenstock, and all my friends being like, what the fuck is going on? And that story still gets brought up from
shoe money. Your shoe money.
Your shoe money.
Yeah, you were down at Deep Elm. You gotta put your money in your Birks.
I had a buddy that brought joints in that way. He like hollowed out one of his Birks and put joints in it. And like we get into past the gates and he's doing, I was like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, how'd you get yours in? You just pull it out of your pocket. You're like, what the hell did you ruin your sandals for?
But no,
that
good
idea
awesome.
When he was high.
That's an incredible story, and I think that's always like something that we all and really the cargo pants didn't help us, right? Because then you had like 16 pockets to fit.
You're looking for your lighter, and you're just like,
oh my gosh,
fam! I think that jean shorts were what were in vogue back then.
Yeah.
Jean shorts, yeah, the cutoffs with like the
no, not even the cutoffs, the nice ones that were like made to be jean shorts.
Right. Yeah. You guys did have quite the look there. You guys had a very 90s look in that when you look at that flatbed jam and the different things you saw, it's what's so cool about it is it really is a capsule, a time capsule of, a look, a sound. We were talking about this earlier in the green room about, just the sound you're getting from Fish was, I don't think it's talked enough like in the cultural context of the world at that time, and how grunge music and kind of a harder edge rock and roll was happening all around Fish. And
with
so
the Macarena though. So
and
like
the
there was also the
Macarena.
silliness out there.
I know.
And the blender.
Yes, yes. But what I mean by that is why do you, to me, that says a lot of why you hear like mics. That mics you heard last night is got a hard edge. It's a rock and roll mics. You're gonna hear tonight. Some of these tracks tonight, like Fluffhead, to me, the Fluffhead is one of the best ever. And it's because it's absolutely just, I'm making a statement of how much of a hard rock band we are, you know, and Antelope, the Gym, you know, there's so many moments where I'm like, damn.
Are they making a statement, or is that just genuinely who they were at that point? I feel like that's.
I think it, but
little column A, little column B.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, it would have been, you know, but they also were throwing in esters, you know, too, that very much differentiated them from what was also happening, you know, in the music world at that time, you know. So again, I can't imagine what kind of just cultural moment you guys were experiencing there, and then to how much it was emulated, you know, throughout. Did you go to the Great Went to, Scotty, or
I did. Yep. I believe I've gone to all the festivals except for it and Festival 8.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
I was very.
I picked two.
And how
great
did
ones to?
how did the Clifford Ball hold up for you? Like, as you added a bunch of other festivals and stuff, is it still one of your favorite experiences, or where does that fall into the experiences you've had?
I would say because not having any idea what to expect coming in, that whole aspect of it and being the first makes it really stand out and different. Was it the best musically of them? No, definitely not. But as far as the fun I had and being an interesting experience and fun, I'd put it right underneath Big Cypress. Probably a big gap from Big Cypress.
Right.
But it would probably come second after Big Cypress.
And it was instrumental. Wait, who's putting that long of a thing on the screen? We let Llama. Hold on. Llama, don't push shit that long on the screen, man.
Under 15 characters, Chad. Come on.
God.
That's a solid comment, though. I think that's funny, though. I mean, that's an A+ comment. So 10 years down the road, Scotty, I'm curious kind of where you're at kind of in life, because you created what I was just absolutely adored as a website. And like when I was in college and when I was growing up, this was like what I was looking at in the library and the computer lab and thing was Hidden Track. So I want to hear kind of how you ended up, kind of your fish journey then ends up into like who you are today.
Absolutely. Well, I met many people through my fish adventures, and circa 2005, 2006, I was on a private message board called Groovy Zone with a bunch of people from various friends groups that had come together and had done a lot of writing about fish, just in terms of, hey, it's the 10th anniversary of Clifford Ball. What did everyone think of their experience? And I would share some thoughts on what went down. And one of the people on this message board was Slade Somer, who went by Ace Cowboy at the time. He had a blog of his own called Slack Lane.
Holy shit. I do got to stop you there. If that isn't a perfect name for Slade, Ace Cowboy, like when you get to know Slade a little bit, holy shit, that is perfect. Sorry to stop you. I had to bring that
worries.
up. Go ahead. Sorry.
So glidemagazine.com was looking to start a blog to venture into the jam world and asked Slade to run it. And Slade saw what I was writing on this message board and thought I'd be a good contributor and asked me to write an article a week for his new venture, Hidden Track. And I took that ball and ran with it. I had no training whatsoever. I'm not a journalism major. I studied business. I was at the time working for a computer company, doing a job that I really didn't like, but allowed me a lot of downtime. So I was able to write a lot of articles for Hidden Track and loved it, and loved the experience about writing about music and Slade had his job was taking too much time, and I went from he asked me to contribute an article a week. I wound up by the end of the first year writing like 3 articles a day. And he, in about 2008 or 2009, got a new job and couldn't focus the time on Hidden Track. And he like basically threw me the keys and said, take the ball and run with it. And I did that for a few years. And in 2013, Jambase came calling and asked me to run editorial. And now I do that with Andy Kahn. So that's been great. But Fish has always been my first love, the band I've seen most, and the band I've written about most. And then it brings us an aside in 2008, right before Fish got back together. All of these people were coming up with great Fish content, whether it was blogs, whether it was sharing BitTorrents with recordings that we had never circulated digitally before. YouTube was becoming a thing. People were starting to upload their VHS tapes, and there was no good real there was no good site that was curating all of this amazing content that was going on. And that's when I had the idea to start Blog. And
it's been a force in this scene ever since. I mean, it's one of the go-to spots when you first get into the scene, I feel like, still. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it started right when Twitter started, and it was the perfect confluence and timing. And before Fish from the Road started tweeting out the set list, Blog was we had people that would tweet out the set list and commentary, kind of like Scott Marks does today. And that was quite a thing for a few years, and it was a bitch to make sure that someone was covering every single show. And so I was kind of glad when Fish from the Road came around. I was able to, because it's always one thing that has been a balance for me is they say don't make a job out of your passion in case it becomes work, and that's always something that I'm want to make sure that I keep a balance,
and it's still enjoyable, and it doesn't
and it's
take away. Right,
Exactly.
these hobbies that we have, you want to feed you energy, right? They gotta give. They can't take, and when it turns into something that takes, then it's not worth it anymore.
It's like having season tickets, right? To I had for a bunch of years, I had season tickets to the Rangers with my friend. This is like when they were really bad in the early 2000s, and it became like a burden, because it's like 41 games, and I was single, whatever. I didn't have kids. I guess it was like a late.
But it's like being slapped in the face 41 times.
Right, exactly. But it was also like, you always when they were so bad, and then you had to you had to plan ahead. Okay, I have to go to this game because I paid $2,000 for the season or whatever it was. So you don't want that to happen.
And you can never give them away.
Right. That's what's great. Yeah, Wolf jumped right in. Love that. And that's what's great. I think that's what's the best part about, in some ways, Fish is I see people post it all the time, but we really never lose. It's not a losing. We might see a bad show, maybe. Then that's
except for Charleston night 3. Fuck
okay, Charleston.
We all lost that night.
Lost. We can't get that night back. That's true. That's harsh. It's harsh. But it's a great point, there's a feeling you get. And I think what I love that you said, Scotty, is, and what I've loved about you from the get-go is that you've always amplified people, other voices in the scene. And YEM Blog is like a safe place. It's like a safe haven. You think about Wolf knows, and we all know that Twitter is a kind of a scary place, and there's a lot of scary stuff that goes down on it. But if you just spend a little time on, you can click on YEM Blog, and it's just a nice little haven of decency, and it's just about Fish, and it's very kind of
pure and fun, and
yeah, it's very, exactly, and it's a wonderful kind of central place that we all can go to. So and it's
so what you're saying is we should all be more like YEM Blog.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we
I
should
agree.
all
I
be.
think we would
Yeah.
have a better place if we all were.
As a
Then
matter of fact, that's how Goose, the band, tries to create their concert environment.
You're bringing
A
it back.
groove safe environment.
Yeah.
A groove
It's a
safe
good point,
environment.
though, right? Like about Scotty, like Scotty is like he's a super nice guy when you meet him like in person, but he knows so much about the scene and about about the music, but it's like it's never like being I hate the word gatekeeper, but that's what he's not like. It's that he's certainly like an expert on the fish and knows a ton
He's
of
a
it.
gate
and knows,
opener. He's a
Right.
gate opener.
But like he's not, he never throws it in anybody's face, right? So that's like,
That's that's a great distinction, Kev. Like it's almost like the idea of opening gates. Like, yeah, you might not be keeping people out, but like we need people. Like it's great to have somebody like Scotty. Sorry, I didn't know if you knew you were gonna come on here for us to just, fluffy for an hour. But
it's so great to hang out with someone who's only seen fish a couple times because their excitement and their enthusiasm is so through the roof. It's infectious. You're like, yeah, dude, fuck
yeah, and they're like, this is the
love
best
it.
show I ever saw, and then somebody's like, no, it's tier 7, and then you're like,
Right.
oh, well, fuck me, I hate my life.
I-
Sorry, no, we were not talking about that though.
No,
but it's more about, I'm not denigrating anybody. I'm just saying that Scotty does a really nice job of like making it open for people who haven't been, and it's not, I'm not saying any other people do or don't. I'm really just talking about him, is that he does a really nice, very positive kind of attitude. And when you see him like tweeting during the show, like flipping desks, it's like, it's genuine, and it's like, it's very, it's really fun to see. So
I love the desk flipping commentary.
Yes.
That's when it's like kind of become the meter of like when something's raging, right? Like you got to check in. Like I haven't seen it on the timeline. I got to check in. Oh, sure enough, this is desk flipping level. We're all there together.
Never quit flipping desks, dude. Absolutely. We always, that will never get old. That will never get old. That bit is an A+ bit forever. It's evergreen. Always flip desks, brother. Because we yes, always love that. And again, like you said, Wolf, that's the energy that we kind of need at times, where we just go, this isn't, there's no arguing this. We're just flipping desks because this is raging, and that's what we're doing. Exactly.
I want to stop for a second, though, before we get too far away from your relationship with Slade, because I did want to plug that Slade's actually going to be on Live this week, Wook Wednesday. He'll be right here on Wook Plus. As part of our Live show. So that's kind of cool. It's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I think like we didn't plan it out to have you guys in the same week, but that you got into basically the business, right, of writing for Fish with Slade, and then he's going to be on our show. It's really cool. It's almost like you guys are like role models or mentors, like even indirectly, right? Like people that are new to the content game, like a lot of us are, that are trying to, just follow in the footsteps. Like it's cool to get to talk to you guys and just see that we're all just a bunch of nerds that really love this one band, probably an unhealthy amount.
I mean, he changed my life in a way no one else has ever. I mean, I don't know where I probably wouldn't be on this conversation right now. I don't know where I would be if I didn't come into contact with Slade. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him. So everybody come back Wednesday night.
Absolutely. And when you shared something I'll never forget on Jam Base, our hot dog who learned to fly story. This is one of my favorite things that Wook Plus has ever done, that we it was early on in what we were doing. And I cannot tell you like how excited we all were when, and especially me, like I tell you, I have that tweet bookmarked. I go to that review all the time. I'm like, Scotty B wrote up a review, a nice review about my silly hot dog story, and Tim animated that, and we put it all to like, and yeah, that meant so much to us, and like that's the kind of things we've been talking about. But we can talk a little more Clifford Ball too if we want to kind of get back into that. But we've got an awesome show to look forward to tonight. This is one of my absolute favorite nights of like Fish, and in some ways kind of got me in that much more into Fish. This is one of the first, I was saying the other night, this is one of my first $75 headshot bootlegs, you know, the Japanese.
That's
Japanese-
more than it costs for both nights plus the camping pass.
I know.
See it live.
But I didn't have a tape hook back then. I was a Midwest kid. I didn't have a B&P guy, you know, that I could just, you know, so I had to go to the head shop and find whatever and get just robbed, you know, just silly for these Japanese. The songs were always mislabeled. They were written like
Hell is coming.
yeah, so awesome. I love those. But this, I remember Clifford Ball, and I had night 2, and I remember specifically set 2. But set 1 is fantastic too, you know, with all kinds of amazing
Didn't it
things
have
happening.
like a old home place?
Old home place to start?
I had never heard them do that song, but I knew that song from my stepfather because he had, what's his name, JD Crow. He was a big Tony Rice guy and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's weird as shit that Fish is playing this song.
Do you
that song gives you daddy issues?
Yeah, stepdaddy issues.
What from your memory was your highlight of the second night, Scotty? Like, do you have a moment that stuck out to you as, I guess, the highlight?
The second, I just want to say the second set is one of my favorite Fish sets of all time. And it's not about type 2 jams. And it's what always kills me when people are like, it's all about the jams, nothing else matters. Like, I also go to Fish shows to see Fish play Fish songs. I mean, that's a big part of the experience for me.
I love a song that has a chorus and a verse and you're out of there. Sparkle. We talked about Sparkle last night.
And they just nailed in that second set. It's like optimal versions of everything they played in terms of might not go deep, but in terms of playing it tightly and playing it well, and especially the fluff head. I mean, the peak of the fluff head is my favorite moment of Clifford Ball.
I'm
Yes.
really looking forward to it.
Oh my God! Like you're speaking my language, Scott.
Got chills just thinking about it.
Dude, it is so good.
Oh.
And in all respect to the Chula fluff head, right? Because this, you know, we got a 4.0 fluff head that opened a show that was phenomenal. That was so good. But it kind of, and I hate to put a butt on it, but
Wait, we're gonna compare 4.0
You're
to
gonna butt
96
and?
Fish.
I am gonna say, well, it's a cool juxtaposition. It's just like neither one is bad. I mean, you can't get mad at like an 18-minute, 19-minute fluff head to open, but it goes kind of tight too, and it gets kind of off into kind of like bliss land, right? And this 96, this second set fluff head is again goes, but to me, like I said, it's like they want to be a rock band in this set. They're like, and this like Scotty's saying this. Right at the beginning.
What were they like?
We're gonna cut that now. It's gonna be a sample.
How did that go again?
I can't do it. But it's literally like him just revving up a chainsaw. I mean, and then it's just like the tone is like it's just the best kind
like
of fluff
what?
head. To
This
me,
is
it's
the
my
best
favorite,
analysis
Massacre.
ever.
my favorite fluff head ever. Honestly, and like I mean, it's
You know
just
what's
Go ahead,
interesting to me, I think, is the impact of them nailing it and being on had on the future of the band. Like, I'm not like, I don't know. I guess I've been reading a lot of like butterfly effect style, literature lately, but they're not always nailing it, right? It's not, they don't have 100% batting average. And if they didn't have that second set, because you know how Trey was in his head, right? Like that whole mind cliff thing throughout 1.0. If they had a really shitty, sloppy second night of the Clifford Ball, I mean, how that would have just completely changed their
Destroyed
trajectory.
Would have destroyed them.
Did you see that clip? Like it was on Twitter a couple of days ago. Like, this you just made me think about this when like the guy comes in, the stage manager or whatever. It's like the band is in like one of the rooms backstage, and then the stage manager's like says like 5 minutes, and
Right,
like
thanks.
Trey's like get the fuck out of here or whatever.
You tool.
Yeah.
Very punk rock.
Can you imagine Trey doing that now? Like it's so interesting. It made me think so much about like how different a person he must have been like in 96, 90, like in terms of like what kind of, he was probably much more of an asshole than he is now, like in terms of being driven and like, you know, pushing, you know, and I just,
Which I think you needed that though, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
maybe
yeah, no. I don't say he was wrong for being that way. I just like, it just sort of struck me like, you know, I guess he was probably like in his early 30s or whatever, mid 30s, I guess. Like it's just so different than. Oh yeah, he's probably like 30.
He was probably like 30 because I think he was born in 66.
Yeah, so he's 5 years old. Yeah, whatever. So he was like, yeah, I mean, very young guy. 30 or 31, and like it must have been so, it's just so different, like his whole persona is so different, you know.
Right.
We all were angry young men at that point. I know when I was at that age, I was angry at everything, you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I was that angry. I was pretty
but like,
angry
you know,
at everything.
aggressive in a way that you're just not aggressive when you're you know, probably not when you're a little older.
Might have been the drugs too.
He discovered Eckhart Tolle at some point.
Well, but that's
so.
yes, but also the piece. I think if you look at any biopic, and that's an interesting topic to bring up, is we've got the biopic, you know, coming up for the Grateful Dead, and it's always interesting to think about what it would look like for Fish. But I think any time you look at a genius, or you look at kind of, and I think it's fair to call Trey a genius, you know, in every way, you know, it's like an artistic genius, that there's a level of dick to him, you know, and they really don't get to kind of, you know, where they're at without, honestly, the Beatles. Speaking of documentaries that are out right now, you know, there's a lot of stuff about how kind of really they stepped on a lot of people on the way up, you know. So there is a level of, you just have to have a singular drive, right?
Was he like being like a hard, like sincere dick to this guy? I haven't seen the clip, but I know like the other clips.
No,
like
he was
Brad
joking. It was like,
that's what
it
it's the
felt a
same
bit
thing with fucking
staged.
Brad. Like fuck you, Brad. Like it's that like that's all part of the joke. Like I think he's still a nice guy, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he was an asshole. I just like, not like in a bad way. Like he just.
But the humor's different. How about that? The joke, you know, he wouldn't go and pull that joke now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think, right, we're all in different places in our life too. Where, right, he's an old guy now. He's one of us olds, right? I mean, not quite as old as Wolf, but you know, he's pretty young about that. No,
the only one as old as Wolf is when.
No one really knows. That's never been stated, has it? I mean, as far as we know, it's AD as well.
I've never wanted to meet famous people. Like I had a chance to go backstage and meet Bobby once, and I was like, what if he's a dick? I was like, I don't want to do that and ruin it for myself.
Meeting your heroes is tricky. It's always tricky. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where, you know, again, and you don't want to catch it, because you could meet me at the wrong time, and you know, not that I don't always have a sunny disposition here, but you know, so that's just how it goes. And I think they're humans as well, but you don't go from Clifford Ball to, you know, and like you said, Tim, having the experience that he had to really kind of expand it. They're a corporate entity now in some ways, right? And you don't get there, and not in a bad way. I'm not judging them, other than, you know, our guy Brad, who needs to settle down sometimes a little bit. You take it easy, Brad. But you know, again, like you don't get there if you don't have a certain drive like he did. And that means taking no substitutes for the product that you want to have out there. That means pushing the people around you, like if Fishman or if Paige or if Mike is getting lazy and, you know, or whatever, you're the one going, nope, we're in the practice room and we're playing right now, you know, like there's got to be that guy, right? And I think all the band members are always constantly going, no, Trey was definitely that guy, right? Who was always like, wouldn't let us slack, right? And now now they can slack. Right. So going back to Wolf's point is like, they would definitely not do that now because they've made it, you know, like why in the world would they need to be that way, you know, in some way. So it's an interesting thing. And
they could be playing stadiums.
Thankfully,
just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Really glad they didn't go down that road.
So am I.
When do you think Fish thought that they made it?
The Clifford Ball. I'm sure Trey looked out at 70, 80, 90, whatever it was, and was like, I mean, at the end of yesterday's show, he was so gushy. Yeah. You know, he was never gushy like that back then.
That's fair.
I think that's a big we made it point, and I think also Big Cypress in terms of like
we can do anything.
We're at the top. Not we didn't just make it. now we're at the top. And
Yeah.
No, exactly. Right. They even thought that. They even were like, how do we top this? Right?
exactly,
You can't
it
top
became a problem. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm like, well, all right, we got to chill for a while. I guess like taking a break will help, right? Speaking of breaks, Julie finally got a break from the bar.
Julie.
Hi, yes, finally, everyone left. So,
Nice.
Good.
yeah, how y'all doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounding
There's
good.
a lot of ambient noise in the bar. So, yeah, like a.
There's always a bar buzz. Oh no. Hope we
Yeah,
didn't
really.
lose her. There she is.
Yeah,
Your
the
signal's
Wi-Fi's
a
really
little
bad.
rough. Julie, I'm gonna pull you off, but we'll test it in a minute. If not, we'll have you back on.
That's
another
right,
show.
absolutely. Because we've got to figure out this beef. Because we know, Julie is the comic relief Wook of the year, and
Wolf was runner up.
Wolf was runner up. If you didn't know
Again.
this, Julie, yeah,
Always
again,
runner up.
I did not know that. I was not aware.
yes, and
Wow.
there's some beef there. I think he's a little bit salty about not, constantly being the runner up. So we thought if we have you guys both on at the same time, we can decide right here, like who's the funniest,
Have a joke off.
I'm
right?
much funnier on Twitter than I am in real life. I'm not that
can't-
funny in real life.
Fam, you can't actually put him on the spot for a joke.
Oh, we can't really have a joke off. Is that
Although
not a
Julie
thing?
could just stop moving and we just think she froze and be like,
Yeah. No, it keeps slowing down. The Wi-Fi here is so bad. Like I don't even hook up my phone to it usually because it's like it's awful. So yeah, I didn't really think about that, but it was like with the timing, I was like, I kind of can't.
She's stuck in the
that's
time
all
warp.
right. We'll bring her back on.
Makes me
We'll
feel
figure
like
out
I'm in a
first.
bar. It's been a while since I've been in a bar, and it's actually like felt kind of cool. It's like, look at all those neon signs and like bar
Look at
fields.
the mirror.
Yeah, look at that
I
bar.
always like being behind the bar than sitting at the bar. I always felt more comfortable being the bartender than the patron.
I want to address one thing before the broadcast night, before I get going, and that's the way that the Clifford Ball ended.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me
They
hear this.
played Harpua as the
Sorta.
encore, and they left it unfinished, and it was the most confusing, one of the more confusing fish experiences I ever had. I was really unclear. Apparently, a plane was supposed to fly over, and that was going to be part of Trey's story, and it didn't. Something got screwed up with the plane, and it didn't happen at the right time.
It was behind the stage. It flew behind the stage instead of in front.
I've got Trey's statement. They actually back then they put out statements, right? They always like
You gotta read it in your Trey voice.
From the desk of Trey
Oh.
Anastasio.
Oh my
Fam,
god!
you got a Trey voice ready?
Oh geez,
See,
I
we
get
can't
it.
put Wolf on the spot, but we can
No,
put
I'm
you on
terrible
the
on the
spot.
spot. I'm
Okay,
terrible
I'm
on the
ready.
spot.
Okay. During Harpua, we thought it would be cool to build up a space drone after the Jimmy Dreams story and leave the stage as an antique Russian YAK swooped over the audience, spraying fireworks in what we were assured would
What a
be an
great
utter-
idea, by the way. Let's just spray fireworks right over our crowd.
Fuck the glow sticks.
No wonder it didn't work. Yeah. So would be an utterly mind-blowing visual spectacle. I must have had a look of concern on my face when, to my surprise, I finished the story and the YAK failed to appear. Since we just seen it flying around backstage between the second set and the encore, we were confident it was there, or we couldn't see it. And through so cool, I guess it wasn't the visual exclamation point that we had hoped for. That's okay, though, because it's always exciting to try new things, experiment, and take new risks. I hope that clears up the absurdly long-winded mystery of the short Harpua. Your friend, Trey.
I don't remember.
Kids always take risks.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he
Awesome.
put out a full statement,
Listen
about
to your
the-
Uncle Trey and always take risks.
What were they thinking, though, to spray fireworks right over the crowd? Like,
It's also scary and obviously, like, for sure, and not to get too,
the
more
pilot was probably like, I can't do this over the crowd. I'm going to do it behind the stage. Like, what the hell is this guy thinking?
My insurance doesn't cover that.
And what would you
they
guys?
call my boss. Oh, wait, you don't want me to drop the fireworks on their heads? Okay, I'll just fly behind the stage.
Exactly. And what would you guys would have thought? Again, remember some of the stories we've heard you guys telling. A lot of people were in a little different headspace, right? So they're staring up in the air, right? And here's this airplane.
Getting flashbacks to Nam. Like,
Right.
fucking, you got old heads just stuck in cover. Like,
Right, just a disaster. No, right. In some ways, maybe someone
Oh, that's
made,
amazing.
maybe someone made an executive decision. Like, this is a really poor idea, Trey.
Speaking of executive decisions, I'm going to make one for Wook Plus. We need to get fam a Trey puppet. So anytime you're reading a statement from the band, you can have hand puppets and do their voices. Like,
can
oh,
make
Fish
me
just
want
put
to
out a
make
statement.
We get some felt and we'll make them one.
Exactly.
We have to have industrious fans that watch or somebody that would like to make a Trey puppet.
I'm sure they're on Etsy somewhere.
Oh, there's definitely Trey puppets out there for sure. Come on. It's been
I'm
a
your
item.
puppet.
Exactly.
No, Kev has
Every tray fetish you can think of exists somewhere.
Kevin and
Yeah.
Wolf weren't in Nam. They were.
No, he aged out and he wasn't eligible for a nom. They were like, "That this old man."
I could.
Yeah.
I was 21 or something when they did Desert Storm, and my mother calls me and says, "I'll send you to Canada if they do a draft." I was like, "They ain't doing no damn draft."
You should have just took her up on it and gone to Canada. Free trip to Canada. Thank you, Grandma. Appreciate you. Jeez.
We'd be
Oh my
speaking to
God.
Colonel Went.
Good thing we're not left to Baltimore protecting the United States. Jeez.
I was like, "They don't want me. I'm the last guy."
I was too old for Vietnam.
They didn't want the guy that was at Clifford Ball sucking nitrous from the guy who passed out. Who was- you're kidding. No, but this show, and I can't agree with you more. This second set is a perfect set. I mean, it may very well be a perfect set. Like, it's hard to call something that, but it is absolutely perfect. And then the third
Tier
set,
one set. Tier one
yes.
set.
Tier
We didn't talk about the Ben and Jerry's, and that becomes like a
Yeah,
big,
dude, the brother.
the big
Brother.
collaboration
I
between.
was
Ben
so
and
happy
Jerry's
to
and
see
Fish.
that reappear. That was
Yeah.
such a cool thing. Because
Exactly.
it was like a goofy song, and they stopped doing it, and then it was, you'll never see that again. That was one of those, hey, let's have fun for a couple years, and I guess it rears its head every few years now.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
played it not too long ago, I think.
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the most special.
They played a
ones,
Fast Brother on Fall Tour, because the one they did
Yeah, they
before
did.
that was all slow and weird, and
They did it at Fall Tour, and then they did a YMSG, I think 19, like in 1229 or something. I forget.
okay.
19 or 18. 18.
And it was slow, wasn't it? Wasn't it like
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
tempo?
Well, I don't know if it was slow. I can't tell it was slow because it may have been, but I can't say that my memories are a
You
thousand.
may have been fast.
I don't know. It's just possible. I can't comment on why that happened, but
Time was a little elastic at the moment.
I think
Very
Mike
elastic
messed
that
up
night.
the intro a little bit that night. If memory serves.
Scotty, can you settle something for me? Because I've had a lot of different guests on this shows over the last 2 years, and I've noticed a 50-50 split in a community is Yem blank or YEM blank. So like Yem Shades, Yem Blog, or Yem SG is how I would say it. But I have people on the show, guess, and what Wolf just said it, and it struck me. What is the right way? Because he said YEM SG.
I say it Yem blog. I say it Yem, not YEM. I say
That's
Yem.
what I say. Okay, good. So I'm gonna chuck that up as an authority ruling in and giving me the win.
Yes.
Wolf, do you disagree? Was that on purpose? Do you think Yem is the wrong way to say it?
Yes, but that's only my personal choice. I
I
defer
think
to
it's
Scotty.
up to anyone.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
not
Yem.
gonna
I
lie.
always
Say
say
it.
YEM always. Like I never say YEM, or like I always say YMSG or YE Miami or whatever. I don't know. It's just
I always
personal
call it
choice.
New Year's. I never use the YEMSG thing.
No, but like Yem socks, or like there's a lot of Yem things, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Yem socks definitely.
Yem blog was probably the first one to really play on that, though, right? I feel like
I say YEM blog in my head when I read it on Twitter.
Interesting.
Oh, nice,
But
interesting.
what's interesting, what I don't think of You Enjoy Myself as Yem. I
Right.
think of it as YEM. But for some reason, it's just always, at least in my head, and when I was talking to people, it's always been Yemblog.
It's a personality test. How you answer, it's a personality test.
He's 100% right, though. It's only as for the brands. It's not for the song. The song is YEM, but everything else is Yem.
Yeah, I would never consider say that Yem from last night was.
This is the nerdy level commentary and discussion we
have
want to
gone
attain
off
on this show.
We're off the nerd track there, definitely.
I call it Yum.
Do you?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Solid comment, Llama. Yeah.
Way to contribute.
Yeah.
The llama has spoken. It's Yum.
It's coming in for his
That's the
paycheck.
answer. That's all we needed to hear.
Came in for his paycheck.
This does
I'm
have
only
an
here because they told me I had to be here.
Thanks. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. This does have an interesting tweezer, though, too, which you would think kind of, you know, on all the interesting and like famous tweezers of the world, you'd think the Clifford Ball tweezer would be in that mix, but it really isn't talked about a ton, but it's great. You know, like there's really, they never miss a note. I think that's the piece that, you know, is so interesting and maybe is such a dichotomy too with the rest of their festivals, where this one you almost maybe feel their tightness, but it brought out the best in their playing.
What did it go into?
It's tweezer than a day in the life.
Oh yeah, remember the day in the life, because they did Life on Mars the one night and Day in the Life. I was like, they're two of the greatest covers you guys have ever done.
Yeah, that's an interesting little point. Yeah, that it's kind of end capped with Life of Mars and then Day in the Life. Absolutely. But yeah, but it's a different thing than they did the rest of their tour or the festivals, though, because you think of the rest of their festivals tend to be going back to what Scotty was saying, where the jams are there, right? They really stretch it out and they go, okay, like this is our thing. Like we're gonna really do some wild things, where this one is still, you feel kind of the newness of it and you feel kind of the tightness in them, but it brought out great playing. It brought out that really type 1 fast, like we're going to play our songs good, like really well played. Like this 75, 80,000 are going to get the best fish that they, you know, we're not going to miss a note, you know? And then the rest of their festivals are like, oh shit, this is like our thing now. Like we can take risks, we can do wilder things and really step out, you know, the rest of them.
Can I ask Wolf if he's seen the Clifford Ball, the DVD before?
No, I'm very, it's like I'm a little superstitious about seeing like festivals that I didn't go to. Like it's almost like I don't deserve to see them. So like I'm very like I try to pretend I didn't stop seeing Fish for 15 years. So like all those things that I should have done I didn't do like in the late 90s. So
all right,
I understand. Yeah, I totally get that. You know, it is hard to
very I don't listen to like Big Cypress ever. Like I should have been there. I had a chance, I just didn't go to Fish for like.
When did you get back?
End of 2011.
Oh wow.
Like, New Year's 2011. Like I saw them 12/28, 12/29, 2011, and then started seeing them again in 2012 in the summer. But it was very.
So when did you fall off?
Like 95. The last time I saw them was like Red Rocks in 95, I think.
Wow.
And so it's just such for me, whatever, like in terms of like seeing them like at such small venues in 93, like 3,000 people or 2,000 people. And then like, how the hell did this happen in 96 if they have 75,000 people?
Right.
Like it was just like they took off like a rocket, and it was
Well, I mean, Jerry died. As much as Fish aren't the Grateful Dead, a lot of people did migrate over, at least, even if only for a few years before they dropped off,
But it was I mean, it was that, and God knows whatever confluence events, but they just it's like they lit a fuse and like boom, they just rocketed into space, and I was like, this is so weird because it was so different than what I was used to. So I just, it's like I don't begrudge anybody becoming fans in the 90s, and like it clearly became a big deal for a lot of people, which is the best. I mean, even like Scott Marks, whatever, I don't think he saw shows till 97 or something like that, or 96.
Yep.
You know,
97.
and like,
Yeah.
so he didn't see a lot of shows in 94, 93, 92. When I saw, I don't know, 10 or 11 shows back then, which is not a lot, but some.
It's all right.
And,
Numbers aren't that important.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, and so, like, it just, for me, like, it was such a weird, you know, thing that I just kind of couldn't get into it for a while. And, you know, and I finally got off my high horse and realized how dumb I was. So I just started listening to it again. You know, I'm like, this
It was
is
a
dumb.
high horse thing.
No, it was like, I was like, I'm just so like not into like seeing big bands and 30,000, 50,000. And then I'm like, okay, so either don't see them or you don't have a choice. So either go see the music
I got into the New Orleans music in the late 90s, early 2000s. And when Fish stopped touring, I went to Jazz Fest every year. And all the bands that came around, like Galactic or the Rads or somebody, you played a small club. You didn't have, you know, it was the Record Theater in Towson, which holds 2,000 people tops, if that, you know.
Right. And honestly, like, and this Clifford Ball moment is probably where you can kind of go, okay, this isn't my little band anymore, you know. And I think you mentioned that too, Kev. Like, you had that moment where you turned around and was like, holy cow, we are a huge amount of people. Like, what happened? Like, what is going on? And there is something really cool about having that band, you know, is like your band, you know, and it's small and it's yours, and it like, you tell people about them, but you're almost kind of like, okay, I hope they stay this small forever, you know. And when they do make that jump and that big move, all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't know if it's not mine anymore, you know. They're not
That's why I always love that line in Ghost. This was my big secret.
Yeah, you know, it was there, right? It was everybody's secret. Then that secret got out fast, you know, and so that's pretty. It's a great point, Wolf, and I totally get that, because I've seen that in many bands that were like my little band, and then now they're like everyone.
Yeah,
like, nah.
Back when you used to see Goose back in 2019.
Timing is everything. Timing is everything, though.
It is, let me just sort of finish the point. Is like I really started liking LCD Sound System in like 2017 or whatever, and they were like really big. 4 or 5 years. Somebody told me about them, so I started listening to them, and I loved them. And I'm like, okay, I'm one of those guys that like, you know, started seeing them much later than when they became popular. And so I can be on both sides of it, and like, and not feel bad about it. It's just, you know, and not, again, never begrudge other people becoming fans of great music, because, you know, that's what it's there for. So
yeah, right. It's always that tricky, like, sellout moment too, you know. And I don't know if Fish ever really sold out. It's never
not
really
selling out, fam, when you're buying in.
I know, and
my God,
look at that, man.
Right? Or people like Grateful, like there's some guys who are probably 5 years older than me who are Fish fans, like who are in the mid 50s or whatever, who were like saw Dead in the late 80s, early 90s, right? And then like there are guys who saw Dead in like 76, right? Or you know, right? Like that's just way. And I'm sure they feel really differently about the band, but they both are huge fans. So like, it's the same thing. You know, there are people in our scene who are 20 who love the Grateful Dead, right? So they weren't even born when like before, you know, they broke up before they were born, and they still love them. So, which is great. It's the best. It should be that way.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be. That's right.
It's for everybody.
Well, and let's just be honest, like, and not to toot everybody's horn in here, but this is what everybody kind of this is a good crew to have around to go, you know, like.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call this because we got a fun show.
Subscribe,
like, and subscribe. Thank you so much, Scotty B. Thank you, Wolf,
Thanks for having me, guys.
This was a lot of fun. We'll have you on again.
It was great
soon.
meeting you, Scotty. Wolf, good to see you again. Hopefully, I met both of you.
Scotty, good to see you. It's been a while.
Good to see you, Wolf. Absolutely.
Come back.
See you guys soon. Thanks
Everybody
very much.
come back Wednesday night. We're gonna have a fun show with Slade. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Give my best to Slade.
We love you too, Drew.